Okay. You're okay, it's recording. Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a former grad student at BU Wheelock School of Education. I was studying higher ed, and I had the pleasure of working with Ellen on the ERTC committee. So she's here. She's going to tell us a little bit about her role, how long she's been at BU, all that good stuff. So yeah, if you want to start off with that, your name, role, how long you've
Perfect.
been there.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I absolutely had a wonderful time working with you on the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. So thank you very much for that. It was a pleasure getting a chance to know you. Essentially, my name is Ellen Faszewski. I've been at the BU Wheelock community for the last 2 years. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm an associate dean for student affairs, and I'm also a clinical professor in science education.
Okay, I actually thought you were there longer for 2 years, so that's a fun fact
Yeah,
that I did not know.
Yeah, well, I was at former Wheelock College for 18 years prior to the merger happening. So so I've
Okay.
been part of Wheelock for 20 years now.
Okay, so that actually answered the next question was where were you before BU? So you're at Wheelock and
Yeah. So, before coming to Wheelock, so I, got a master's degree at Mount Holyoke College and a doctorate at UMass Amherst. And I know that the audience for this is hopefully graduate students and whoever else has some time on their hands. But really, I guess what this question about my educational history is just talking a little bit about how I got to where I am now. And I think it's important to say that I didn't know where I was going to end up. It wasn't like I was 18 years old and I was thinking, I want to be a college professor at a university. It was really more of trying to figure out what my degree was going to be. I ended up majoring in biology and then ended up getting advanced degrees in biology as well. But it really wasn't planned. So when I graduated from college, I wasn't sure what to do with a biology degree. So I was like, hey, I'll apply to grad school. If I get in, I'll go. So I ended up applying to Mount Holyoke. I got into Mount Holyoke and had a great experience there with a mentor of mine. And then finishing my master's, I was like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do with a master's in biology? So I had a opportunity to do a little bit of teaching at Mount Holyoke as a teaching assistant, and I loved it. And so I thought, well, maybe I might want to go into teaching. So I ended up applying to a doctoral program and got some more teaching experience and got the PhD and figured that if I was going to teach, I would only want to teach the older students, which is how I got to higher education.
that makes sense. And I went to UMass Amherst too, well for undergrad.
Nice,
So fun
nice,
fact.
love it.
What do you remember most about graduate school?
You know, it seems like a long time ago, which I guess technically it was a long time ago. I think I really remember the first year of my doctoral program the most, as well as the last year of my doctoral program. So, the first year at UMass Amherst, I spent a summer down in Woods Hole at the Marine Biology Lab. I was trying to learn how to use some new technology. We were developing some software, so I was working with some engineers. So I had a great experience just meeting that science community. And so that really kind of kicked off my experience for my doctoral program. So that was a really exciting time. Then moved through 5 years. I just remember trying to finish my doctoral
Just a
program.
blur, just
It
all a
was,
blur.
it really is all a blur. But really just thinking about the last thoughts that I was having for my doctoral program is just the hours of isolation. You're there working and you're writing your dissertation hour after hour. And this was back in the day before we had cell phones. So I would stare at the phone on the wall and think, will someone please call me? Because doesn't anybody care what I'm going through? Doesn't anybody care about how hard my doctoral program is? Someone please call and ask and check in and make sure I'm okay. So I remember that it was a very challenging time.
Yeah.
And so again, there was a lot of excitement, but just a lot of long hours trying to balance the requirements of the program and just be able to get it all done. And so it took me 5 years to do that.
What was your dissertation on? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy you asked, Lauren. So if you or if anyone who's watching this video at any point would like to hear about frog ovaries, come talk to me. Essentially, it was a combination of cell biology and physiology. So we were interested in looking at how to determine whether immature egg cells were viable. So for example, if you think about in vitro fertilization, how can we characterize the movement of ions, such as potassium, chloride, in and out of developing frog oocytes. So
Part of that just went out of my head because I'm a
you,
higher
you just fell
education
asleep.
major. Yeah, I was like, so part of that, nothing, but I will remember frog ovaries though.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
um, what skills and habits did you develop in grad school that are still part of your life today?
So I think perhaps maybe one of the skills that I developed was just the teamwork aspect. So again, working with my faculty member. So my faculty member didn't study frogs; he studied cockroaches. So
Different animal.
how different animal,
All
different
different
beast
animal.
there. So how can you collaborate with people in cell biology, developmental biology field? They're using different model systems, but what can we learn from one another? How can we apply techniques to different areas? And so working with him, working with, again, as I mentioned, the engineers, developing this new technology was really exciting. So really collaboration. As well as I think determination. So for the first 3 years of my program, we were developing this technology. I would collect data. I'd be up hours and hours of, using my little electrodes to collect my measurements. And then I would go back to analyze the data only to find out that I couldn't access the data anymore because they had updated the software and I couldn't access that information. So for the first 3 years, I'd get
Frustrating.
data and then it would disappear. I'd get data, then it would disappear. So really being able to stick it through and just kind of roll with the punches, if you will, knowing that there's going to be challenges as you're in these programs. So
Yeah,
I would
that's
say, yeah.
really. But yeah, I mean, you bring the collaboration aspect that you talked about was very, like, you definitely brought that to ERTC. So
Yeah,
you're talking, I was like, oh yeah, you were able to bring people together from all
yeah.
over, from different departments. So,
Yeah, and I think it's
um,
also important too, to not get consumed by your program. I know for myself, it took me 5 years to do the program, and some of it was from the data collection, but other parts was, hey, I'm in grad school, I'm in the Happy Valley, right? So I need to, look, just meeting people and just
mhm,
experiencing
yeah,
that graduate experience. So as I was, working on my PhD, I coached lacrosse. I sold field hockey and lacrosse equipment. I was doing all sorts of things in addition to my program. I even delivered packages for UPS. I mean, really, I was a helper, right? So
yeah.
so a lot of different things, and I think having that balance really enabled me to be sane by the time
Mhm.
that dark cloud left over my head and I'd actually received my degree.
That makes sense. Yeah, especially because I feel it's like a lot of work, and you're so focused on it to be able to
Yeah,
like kind of do other things that maybe aren't so brain heavy too. Like,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yes, yes.
And so how have you adapted to the changes created by the pandemic, both, in your work and personally?
Yeah. I think the balance piece, as I was just talking about, plays a huge role. So I was actually out of the country when I learned that we weren't going to be going back to the university.
Mm,
And so just trying to figure out, okay, how can I set myself up in my home to be able to do my work? So, setting up an office to be able to have that structure,
mhm,
saying, okay, I'm going to work whenever I walk into this room because that's where, my computer was. So really trying to set up the structure, but also to have that balance again, working from home, living at home. You don't get that break. Like, I'm commuting to work, my commute entails me getting a cup of coffee and sitting in front of the laptop, right?
yeah,
So really trying to have those lines that say, hey, you know what, I'm done working for the day. Even though my computer is still there, I need to be able to just shut it down.
mhm,
So really trying to have that balance, and the exercise piece, like at least we would walk from meeting to meeting, or we
yeah,
would, I would walk to class, and now it's like my exercise is push this button to start a new Zoom meeting, right? Push it
yeah,
again to end the Zoom meeting. So really being able to try to have that exercise. Um, but I think the thing that I've learned the most from all of this is just how thankful I am for
mm,
for what I do have. Even just the little things, right? Being thankful for my health, being thankful for the fact that I have a job, being thankful that my family's okay.
mhm,
Um, and reaching out to, people who might not have a family that they're living with.
Mhm.
My father lives alone, and so just being able to, I reach out to him more, FaceTime, calling him, trying to see him when I can, just to be able to have that connection. So yeah, so it's been a really interesting experience, and I think I've learned a lot.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has has probably going like getting away from the remote is going to be really challenging to have to do the commute and all that. I keep thinking
Right.
about that. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to wake up at what time? I'm like, ooh.
Right. And I mean, just and for you, I mean, so you just finished your program, right? You just finished grad school. What are you able to take with you to this experience? I'm just throwing a question back at you, Lauren.
Yeah, I mean, I do admit that it's kind of weird because it's like you do this thing that is like supposed to be celebrate, it's like a celebratory thing, and then it's kind of like, okay, I'm done. Like I did my last test or whatever, and then I'm like, that's it. Like, you know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
I guess I did this thing.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm grateful that I was able. Like you. It's like I am grateful that I have a job now. Like in a time when employment is hard.
Right.
And I'm grateful that I have internet. I'm grateful I have a computer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it is like, especially because I know, a lot of people who don't have those things. So I'm very reflective and thankful, and
Hmm.
that I was able to still go to class and, like via computer.
Right.
And I also do think there are, I think it has shown us, like, I know this isn't your interview, so I don't want to take up too much
No, you
time, but I'm like talking
I
a lot.
also learned how to deflect. Go ahead, Lauren.
But I think it has shown us like what is like possible in terms of like work environments being like, no,
Yes.
you can't work remote. Like,
Yep.
no, that's not going to be good for the team. Well, like
Right.
it's like we've shown like what we have to do, and that's going to benefit a lot of people, who might have
Absolutely.
disabilities, people who might have like who might have kids and need to have some more remote time. Like I think it's shown a more accessible world in some ways.
Right.
So I am grateful for that.
Yep. And I love your word reflective. Just
Yeah.
reflective on what we are grateful for. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah.
um, what continues to excite you about learning and teaching? Because I know you've been teaching for a while and learning.
Yes. 23 years, something like
No big
that.
deal.
Just a couple
Just a
years.
few.
Yeah.
Just a few years.
Yeah. I just love it. I mean, usually when people ask me what I do is I tell them I'm a teacher. I mean, I think I didn't realize it at the time, but starting back to when I was in high school and I taught swim lessons. And from there, then being a coach and then getting these teaching assistant positions, really just loving the sharing of knowledge.
Hmm.
And also, I love to learn, right? So, I've picked up cooking. So I took a Thai cooking class a couple of
Ooh.
months ago. I learned how to play ice hockey. The first time I was got on the ice, I was 8. I fell. I was at a birthday party. I cracked my chin open. Birthday
Ooh.
party lasted for about 5 minutes because then the mother had to bring me to the hospital. Never got invited back to another birthday party of that friend, but whatever.
Party
Yeah,
foul.
just party foul. But just learning, learning new things, and especially in the world of science, there's just, I mean, it's like with this pandemic, there's just so
Yeah,
many interesting things that are happening, and just being able to share that information and learn myself. I just love it.
that's awesome. Yeah, you're like, it's what I do. Yeah, I mean,
It's
you've
what
been,
I do.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Um, and so last question, but what interesting and fun facts about yourself are you willing to share? I know you shared a couple, but if
Yeah.
there's anything.
Yeah, so I mean, you had asked me that question about my dissertation. So I've been studying frogs since 1990. So who gets
That's
into
when I
that
was, that's when
field?
I was born. So
Thank you, Lauren. I feel even older. Not only did I turn 50 this year, now I feel very old. Okay, great, thanks. Um, and so I guess an interesting fun fact. I mean, hey, you've been studying frogs for that long. Why not get a leopard frog tattoo on your body? Right? Why not? So I've got a frog tattoo that I'm quite proud of, that I got at a place called Tattoo Charlie's down in Louisville, Kentucky, when I was working down there for a couple of
Nice.
years. So that's kind of interesting. And I already mentioned that, I love to cook. I love sports. You know,
Can you give us your favorite fun fact about frogs? I'm sure there are many, but your favorite thing you learned about frogs.
so back to my dissertation, right? Some of the work that we were doing was trying to identify like immature frog eggs have the similar characteristics to humans. So I was working with a scientist down at Brown, a reproductive facility. So they were interested in the information because if we were able to categorize which ones are the viable by looking at the ion
Hmm.
flow, we could apply that to humans. Who knew?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
that's very interesting. That's very weird.
and did you know that marine sponges have used similar processes that humans do in their immune system? Who knew?
What is a marine sponge?
I studied the red-beard sponge as well. So,
Is it like
sponges. So there's like
the
these
little like thing?
SpongeBob
Like
SquarePants,
he's oh okay.
kind of like that kind of marine sponge.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So
They also wear
anyway,
pants, all of them.
exactly. So yeah. So that's what I got, Lauren.
That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
cool. That was great fun facts.
Awesome. Well,
I
thank you
learned
so
so
much
much.
for doing this, Lauren. I really
Of course.
appreciate it. It's awesome to
Yeah.
see you. I'm gonna stop the recording now, and we'll
Cool.
send this off to Irina.
Sounds good.
So hold on one second. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. Stop recording.